I want to talk to you guys about, again, discerning spirits, right? One time I was working at a Costco, and this woman that I worked with came up to me, and she just harped on me up and down about, just a few things that I knew, right? Again, I knew that I had done nothing wrong, but I just said, oh, okay, very well. Well, thank you. I just responded, be light as dove and shrewd as a snake. I discerned, and, she went away, and then she came back. It's like the next day I was working, and she apologized. She's like, I don't know what got into me, I just, so on and so forth. Well, I knew that it was the Spirit, but I showed her mercy, and I said, oh, all is well. Oh, no, you're fine. And, I just want peace, want to work in peace, right? And, I was praying for her, and then lo and behold, I am the guy who's covering the breaks for all the workers on another shift. And, it's so funny because when I went up to her, right away the Lord began to speak to me concerning her life and her calling. And, I told her that she was chosen and that she was actually called to be a prophetess. And, and she was like, wow, and she was probably in her, late 40s, early 50s, probably early 50s. And she's like, wow. She's like, I was just consulting my spirit guides last night. And I said, and you know what? The God of all the universe heard you. And it is He who is speaking to you now. And she was just like, her eyes got all wide, and she was like, oh. And, I spoke concerning her life and childhood and how she was always different. And, the Holy Spirit really ministered to her. And she told me about things she experienced on the other side, so to speak, because she's had certain spiritual experiences. And I told her how she was going to have the opposite kind of experiences, right? Right, because she's a prophetess, she's going to see things in the Spirit and, have visitations, so on and so forth. And, she was tormented. But God wanted to give her life and peace. And I began to sing this song with her, just a song. I began to sing a song to her, over her. And I didn't know what it was for exactly, but it really ministered to her and touched her. And I knew it was just the Lord confirming something about her that I didn't know. It was just the wisdom of God. I was just being obedient. And she received the things that I said. And then shortly after that, another coworker of mine, this couldn't have been, it was just a short time later, she started to come up to me time after time, pestering me, disturbing me by a spirit of divination, just like Paul. For many days this happened, and I knew why. It was because I actually ministered to this other woman, brought salvation to her house, so to speak. and I knew why I was there, just like Paul. And I got so fed up with it one day. Really, it was just the Lord, because I was just determined to not just to put up with it. I was just not going to respond. I wasn't going to get, worked up about it. But then the Spirit of the Lord rose up in me, and I rebuked her, and she turned white as a ghost. It didn't bother me after that. But I knew I couldn't work there any longer. I had to count the cost. And I had to leave that job. But, this is, a lot easier than what Paul had to go through as a result of him rebuking a woman with a spirit of divination. So I say these things are very real, my friends. And you're going to come across these things as you walk in the Lord. And some things the Lord is just not willing to put up with. You have to realize that. You may be willing, but the Lord's not. And it's in that place of you just going low and low that eventually the Spirit of God takes over. Because He can do whatever He wants with you. He will do what He wills with your life. And sometimes He gets really ticked off at these spirits. And yeah, there comes a point where, He's going to rebuke the individual. because they set themselves again. They make themselves an enemy of Christ. They become one with that spirit, so to speak, just as you are one with the Lord. So, just a little insight into my journey. Some of the things, and there's so many stories I could tell you, so many instances, but just wanted to shine a little light on it.